The hotel clerk looked at me like she had just watched my life turn into a problem she could not fix. Her fingers moved fast across the keyboard, her smile tight, her eyes full of that fake customer service panic people use when they already know the answer is bad. "I'm really sorry," she said. "It looks like there was a system error." Beside me, Emily stood with her travel bag hanging from one shoulder, her blonde hair messy from the flight, and her face too calm for a woman who had just been told our hotel room had gone wrong. That should have been my first warning. "What kind of system error?" I asked. The clerk looked at the screen again like maybe a better answer would appear if she stared hard enough. Behind us, people rolled suitcases across the shiny lobby floor. A wedding group laughed near the elevators, and somewhere close by, a little kid was crying because his father would not let him press all the elevator buttons. "The reservation only saved one room," the clerk said carefully, "and that room has one king bed." I turned my head slowly toward Emily. She blinked once. That was all. No shock, no panic, no "wait, that can't be right." Not even one of those small nervous laughs people give when life gets awkward in public. Just one calm blink. I stared at her. That's it. Emily looked at me like I was making the problem bigger than it needed to be. "Ryan, we have been awake since 4 in the morning." "That does not answer my question." The clerk quickly leaned in, probably hoping we would not start arguing in front of her desk. "I wish I could change it, but we're completely booked tonight. There's a wedding party on 3 floors and a business conference took the rest." Emily nodded like this was disappointing but not world-ending. I was still stuck on the important part. "I thought you booked 2 beds," I said. "I did," she said. The clerk's eyes flicked back to the screen. "The note says 1 king preferred." Emily's face barely changed, but I saw her hand tighten around the strap of her bag. I noticed it. I just did not know what it meant yet. "There must have been a mistake," Emily said in a smooth voice. The clerk handed us the key cards with the tired smile of a woman who wanted our personal drama to leave her lobby. "Again, I'm very sorry. Breakfast starts at 7. You're on the 9th floor." I took the cards because Emily did not move. We walked toward the elevators without speaking. That silence felt wrong. Emily and I had been best friends for almost 6 years. We could talk through anything. Bad flights, family fights, work stress, broken cars, terrible coffee, awkward dates, all of it. Silence between us usually meant one of 2 things. One of us was exhausted, or one of us was hiding something. At the elevator, I finally said, "I was really looking forward to 2 separate beds and emotional peace." Emily pressed the up button. "You get neither, be brave." That sounds very easy from the person who looked strangely calm at the desk. I looked tired. "You looked like someone accepting a plan." "I'm accepting that I need a shower and sleep." The elevator doors opened, and we stepped in with an older couple wearing matching vacation hats. They looked at our bags, then at us, then at the floor number like they had walked into the middle of a conversation they wished they could leave. Emily stared straight ahead. I stared at her reflection in the elevator doors. That was how we always handled uncomfortable things. We joked until the truth got bored and walked away. It had worked for years. We met at my sister's backyard barbecue when I was 24 and burning hot dogs like I had a personal problem with them. Emily walked over, took the tongs from me and said, "You cook like the food owes you money." That was Emily from the first minute. Funny, sharp, too honest, somehow easy to trust. After that, she became part of my life so slowly that I did not notice until she was already everywhere. She was the person I called when my truck would not start outside a gas station. She was the person who sat on my porch with me after my dad said things he could not take back. I was the person she called when her boss made her cry in the bathroom at work. I was the one who drove across town when she said she did not want to be alone, but also did not want to talk. My sister once told us we needed to either date or stop acting married in public. Emily laughed. I laughed too. Laughing was safer than answering. Now we were in Savannah for her cousin's engagement weekend because Emily said she needed one normal person there while her family turned every meal into a meeting. Somehow I was that normal person, which said more about her family than it said about me. The elevator opened on the 9th floor. Our room was at the very end of the hall because of course it was. I unlocked the door and pushed it open. The hotel had taken our awkward situation and made it romantic on purpose. Soft yellow light, white sheets, a small table by the window, no couch, no second bed, just one large king bed in the center of the room like it had been waiting for us personally. Emily stepped in behind me and stopped. I pointed toward the corner. Is that supposed to be a chair? That is a chair. That is not a sleeping chair. That is a chair where a man sits to tie his shoes and question his life. You are not sleeping in the chair. I did not say I was. I'm just judging our options. Our option is to act like adults. We have done that maybe twice. She gave me a look, then dropped her bag on the luggage stand. I placed my suitcase near the wall and tried not to stare at the bed, which was impossible. There was nothing else in the room big enough to stare at. The air felt too quiet. Every little sound seemed louder: her zipper, my suitcase wheels, the hum of the air conditioner, the soft click when she plugged her phone charger into the wall. I'm going to text my mom that we got here, Emily said. Tell her the hotel chose violence. She'll invite you to sleep at her rental house between my aunt and my grandmother. I love this room. Emily smiled, and for 1 second everything felt normal again. Then my phone buzzed. I thought it was my sister asking if we had arrived. She had already sent 3 messages teasing me about going to an engagement weekend with my not-girlfriend. But it was an email from the hotel, updated confirmation. I opened it without thinking. At first I only scanned the top: dates, name, room type. Then I saw the line under reservation changes, changed to one king bed, requested by Emily Carter. My thumb stopped. The room seemed to shrink around me. Emily was turned away, typing to her mom like nothing had happened. Her shoulders looked relaxed, but now I could see the careful stillness in her body. I read the line again. Requested by Emily Carter. I lowered my phone. Emily. She looked over. What? I held up the screen. Her eyes landed on it, and the color in her face changed just enough for me to know. Not a system error. Not a hotel mistake. Her. I looked at my best friend standing in the warm light beside one bed and said, "You changed it." Emily did not answer right away. That was the worst part. If she had laughed, I could have laughed too. If she had rolled her eyes and said the hotel email was wrong, I could have almost believed her. If she had gotten angry, at least I would have known where to put my own feelings. But she just stood there. Her eyes moved from my phone to the bed, then to the carpet between us, like the answer might be written there. "Emily," I said again, softer this time, "did you change our room?" Her mouth opened a little, but no words came out. That scared me more than the email did. Emily Carter never froze. She was the person who could argue with a gate agent without raising her voice. She could make a mechanic explain a bill until it finally made sense. She could tell my sister she was being dramatic and somehow make my sister thank her for it. But right then, in that warm hotel room, she looked afraid. "Yes," she said. I stared at her. "Yes, I changed it." I let out a breath that almost sounded like a laugh, but there was nothing funny in it. When? At the airport. I looked toward the window, then back at her. So the clerk was not wrong. No. There was no system error. She rubbed her forehead with 2 fingers. There was a system involved. I gave her a look. "I know," she said quickly. "Bad joke. Very bad joke." I set my phone down on the small desk by the window. Not hard, but hard enough that it made a sound. Emily flinched anyway, and that made me feel worse, even though I was not the one who had changed our hotel room into some kind of emotional trap. "What were you thinking?" I asked. She folded her arms, then dropped them again like she did not want to look defensive. "I was thinking you were going to leave." "I was not going to leave." "You joked about changing flights." "I joke about everything." "I know," she said. "That is the problem." I went still. She took a breath, slow and shaky. At the airport, when our second flight got delayed, you said maybe we should just go home and skip the whole weekend. You said it like a joke, and I laughed like it was a joke, but then I kept thinking about it. Emily, I was tired. So was I. Then why make this harder? Her eyes lifted to mine, because easy keeps saving us. That sentence landed between us and changed the room. I did not answer. The air conditioner clicked under the window. Down on the street, someone laughed, and the sound felt far away. Emily looked at me like she had been holding these words for so long that they had started to hurt. Another bed would have been easy, she said. Another joke would have been easy. Another weekend where my family looks at us like they know something we refuse to say, and we roll our eyes, and then we go home and pretend it never happened. Easy. My chest tightened, because I knew exactly what she meant. I knew the looks, I knew the jokes, I knew the way people paused when we walked into rooms together. I knew the way my sister said Emily's name like she was waiting for me to finally admit something. I knew the way Emily's mom always saved me a chair next to her at family dinners even when no one had asked me to come. I had noticed all of it. I had just pretended noticing did not mean anything. You could have talked to me, I said. Her face changed. Not angry, hurt. You could have noticed. I almost said there was nothing to notice, but the lie died before it reached my mouth, because I had noticed when Emily stole fries from my plate without asking. I had noticed when I saved funny stories all day because she was the first person I wanted to tell. I had noticed when I went on dates with other women and spent half the time comparing them to her. I had noticed when she wore my old navy sweatshirt on a cold night last fall and I had to look away because seeing her in it made something warm and dangerous move through me. I noticed plenty. I just called it friendship because friendship was safer. Emily's voice got smaller. I did not book one bed because I expected something to happen. I need you to believe that. I looked at her. I mean it, she said. I was not trying to force you. I was not trying to corner you into some big romantic scene. I just thought if there was nowhere to hide, maybe we would finally stop acting like all of this was accidental. My anger had nowhere clean to go, because what she did was wrong. Completely wrong. If my sister heard this, she would probably hit both of us with a couch pillow for different reasons. But Emily, standing there, scared and honest, was not trying to win. She looked like someone who had taken a foolish step because staying still hurt too much. I sat down on the edge of the bed because my legs suddenly felt strange. So what is this? I asked. A test? No. A confession. She gave a tiny laugh with no joy in it. Maybe. A very badly planned one. I looked at my hands. You scared me. I know. You made me feel like I was the last person in the room to understand what was happening. Her eyes dropped. I am sorry. I believed her. That made it harder. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Her bag sat open on the luggage stand, and one of her sandals had fallen halfway out. My suitcase leaned against the wall. The one useless chair waited in the corner like it had seen too much. Finally, I said the thing I had buried for years. I stopped thinking of you as just my best friend a long time ago. Emily went completely still. I looked up before I could lose my nerve. I do not know when it happened. It was not one big movie moment. It just happened slowly. Then it kept happening. And I did not know what to do with it, so I did nothing. Her eyes turned shiny, but she did not cry. Emily was stubborn like that. That is painfully mutual, she whispered. I laughed once under my breath because somehow that sounded exactly like her. She sat beside me, careful to leave space between us. Do you remember your sister's Christmas party? She asked. I remember you made fun of my sweater. It had tiny reindeer on it. It was festive. It was loud. I smiled despite myself. She looked down at her hands. Your aunt asked when we started dating. I nodded. I remember. You did not correct her right away. I know. For 1 second, Emily said, you just stood there. I looked at her, and I hated how much I wanted you to say yes. That hit me harder than I expected. I remembered that moment. I remembered my aunt smiling at us. I remembered Emily standing beside me with a paper cup of cider in her hand. I remembered the easy answer sitting on my tongue. Yes. But then fear had stepped in and I had laughed. "We are just friends," I had said, and Emily had smiled like it did not hurt. "I was scared," I said. "So was I." The space between us felt small now, not because we moved closer but because the truth had filled it. I turned slightly toward her. "We stopped lying." She nodded, "Okay. But we do not do anything tonight because of this room." Her shoulders lowered like she had been carrying a heavy box and had finally set it down. "Good," she said. "Yes, good. I do not want our first real step to feel like hotel furniture, bullied us into it." She breathed out a laugh. "That chair could never bully anyone. That chair barely has a purpose." Emily smiled, nervous and soft and still Emily. I leaned back on my hands and looked at the ceiling. "So now we survive one night like adults. We have never done that before." "No," I said, "but we have also never told the truth before." She did not answer. She just sat beside me on the edge of the bed, close enough that I could feel her warmth, far enough that both of us still had a choice. And for the first time in almost 6 years, neither of us pretended it was nothing. Morning came too bright for a room that had carried so much truth the night before. Nothing happened while we slept. No sudden movie mistake. No half-awake moment. No crossing some line we had only just admitted was there. Emily took the left side of the bed. I took the right. We built a border out of 2 extra pillows like 2 grown adults with 6 years of feelings and almost no idea what to do with them. I barely slept. At one point in the middle of the night, Emily whispered, "Ryan." I opened my eyes in the dark. "No." She was quiet for a second. Then she laughed softly into her pillow. That was not an answer. "I am asleep. You talk a lot for a sleeping man. You changed our hotel room. Let me have this." She laughed again, small and tired, and somehow that little sound made the room feel less dangerous. By morning, the pillow border was still between us, but it did not feel like a wall anymore. It felt like proof. Proof that we had both meant what we said. Proof that we were not pretending. Proof that we also cared enough not to rush just because one bed was sitting there like a bad idea with clean sheets. Emily stood in front of the mirror by the bathroom trying to put in one earring. Her hair was brushed now, falling over one shoulder, and she had changed into a soft green dress that made her eyes look warmer than usual. I watched her for maybe 1 second too long. She caught me in the mirror. "You are being weird," she said. "I am not being weird. You have been holding the same sock for 2 minutes." I looked down. She was right. It is an important sock. She turned around and gave me a tired smile. "We walk downstairs, we eat breakfast, we act normal." "Great. We do not announce anything." "Perfect. We do not let my family turn this into a public trial. Your family does not know how to do anything quietly." She pointed at me. "Exactly, so be calm." "I am always calm." "You brushed your teeth for almost 5 minutes." "I care about hygiene." "You stared at the toothpaste like it had wronged you." "I picked up my room key from the desk." "Fine, we are both strange this morning." Emily grabbed her purse. "We can still recover." Then we both stood there staring at the door. I said, "You go first." She narrowed her eyes. Coward. But she opened it. The hotel restaurant was already loud when we got downstairs. Emily's family had taken over 2 long tables by the windows because her family did not gather. They invaded. They spread out, claimed chairs, moved napkins, called across rooms, and somehow made it feel loving and stressful at the same time. Her cousin Jessica waved first. Then her aunt turned. Then her mother turned. Then 3 more people turned. Emily slowed down half a step. Because I knew her too well, I slowed with her. That was a mistake. Walking in together slowly made us look even more suspicious. Her younger cousin, Natalie, stopped with a fork halfway to her mouth. Emily's brother, Caleb, looked at us, looked away, then looked back with a smile he was clearly fighting for his life to hide. Emily muttered, "Walk faster." I thought we were acting normal. We failed before coffee. We reached the table, and Emily's grandmother looked up from her plate. She was small, silver-haired, and sharp-eyed in a way that made everyone else seem unprepared for life. She looked at Emily, then she looked at me, then she looked back at Emily. "Well," she said, "somebody finally stopped wasting time." The whole table went quiet. Emily's face went red so fast I almost reached for water. "Grandma," she said. "What?" Her grandmother asked calmly. "I am eating toast. I did not say anyone's name." Jessica pressed her napkin to her mouth. Caleb suddenly became very interested in his coffee. Emily's mother looked like she wanted to help but also badly wanted to know more. I sat beside Emily because sitting anywhere else would have looked worse. Emily leaned close and whispered, "Do not enjoy this." "I am not." "You are." "I respect your grandmother's talent. She uses it for evil." Her grandmother pointed her toast at me. "Ryan, you look tired." "I feel great." "No, you do not." Emily closed her eyes like she was praying for the floor to open. Her mother quickly asked about our flight, which could have saved us if Emily and I had not answered at the same time. "Delayed," I said. "Awful," Emily said. Then we both stopped. Jessica made a tiny sound. Emily's grandmother smiled into her coffee. "Friendship is often the first excuse." Emily put both hands around her mug. "Please let me survive breakfast." "I am helping," her grandmother said. "You are creating problems." "That is also helping." I laughed before I could stop myself. Emily kicked me lightly under the table, not hard. Just enough to remind me that even if everything had changed, she could still speak through a well-placed shoe. The engagement brunch started an hour later in a room near the water. Emily's cousin Mark and his fiancée, Hannah, stood near the front, smiling like people who had slept more than we had. There were flowers on every table, little cards with names on them, and too many relatives saying things like, "Take a picture before the light changes." Emily moved through all of it like she always did, fixing someone's collar, finding missing earrings, helping her Aunt carry gift bags, smiling even when people asked questions that were none of their business. I stood nearby holding her purse because she had handed it to me without asking. That was one of the things I noticed differently now. Before, it had just been us. She handed me her purse. I saved her a seat. She ordered onion rings because she knew I would steal them. I remembered she hated hotel coffee unless it had too much cream. She remembered the anniversary of my dad's passing before I did. Those things had been hiding inside friendship. Now they were standing in daylight. We did not hold hands. We did not announce anything. But we also stopped jumping apart every time our shoulders touched. During a family photo, Emily stood beside me, her arm brushing mine, and neither of us moved away. Later, while she was trapped talking to two aunts, Jessica found me by the coffee table. "So," she said. "No." I did not ask anything. "You were about to." She grinned. "This makes way more sense than the dentist." I blinked. "What dentist?" "Oh," she said, "she did not tell you." Across the room, Emily saw us talking and immediately started trying to escape. Jessica lowered her voice. He took her to a restaurant with no music and explained his sleep schedule for 20 minutes. "That sounds painful." She looked bored for 3 straight dates. 3. "Relax," Jessica said. "You were still her emergency contact." That hit me harder than I expected. Emily arrived then, a little breathless. "Jessica, stop talking." I was being supportive. "You were being dangerous." "Same thing in this family." Jessica walked away looking very proud. Emily looked at me. "Ignore her." "The dentist." "Barely counts." 3 dates. "Do you want to discuss the woman from your office who called your truck childish?" I raised one hand. "Fair." By late afternoon, the brunch loosened into small groups. People drifted toward the windows, the hallway, the patio behind the venue. I stepped outside near the water because I needed a minute where no one was watching us like we were the second engagement of the weekend. The air was soft and warm. The river moved slowly against the wooden dock. Behind me, through the open doors, I could hear laughter, clinking glasses, and Emily's grandmother saying something that made a whole table react. Then I heard footsteps. Emily came up beside me with her shoes in one hand, her hair moving in the breeze. For a moment, she just looked out at the water with me. Then she said, "Do you regret it?" I turned to her, the hotel room. Her eyes stayed on the river. "The truth," she said. "Do you regret the truth?" I looked at Emily standing beside me on the dock, holding her shoes in one hand and asking if I regretted the truth like it was the most dangerous thing either of us had ever said. Behind us, her family kept laughing inside the venue. The river moved softly below the dock. The late afternoon sun made the water shine in small pieces, and for the first time all weekend, nobody was asking us questions. Nobody was staring. Nobody was making jokes about friendship or timing or wasted years. It was just us. "No," I said. Emily turned her face toward me. "No, I do not regret it." She let out a breath, but she did not fully relax. "Are you sure?" "I am sure." Her fingers tightened around her shoes. "Because I know I made a mess. I know changing the room was wrong. I know I should have talked to you like a normal person instead of turning a hotel booking into a confession." "It was a terrible plan," I said. She closed her eyes. "Thank you for being gentle." "It was a terrible plan from someone I happen to love." Her eyes opened. The word came out before I had time to dress it up or hide it behind a joke. Love. It stood there between us, plain and honest, and I felt my whole body go still. Emily stared at me. I almost took it back. Not because I did not mean it, but because years of habit told me to make things safer. Add a joke. Change the subject. Laugh before she could see how badly my heart was shaking. But I did not do that. I stayed quiet. Emily's eyes turned shiny again. This time she did not fight it as hard. "You love me." I swallowed, "Yes." She looked down at the dock for a second, then back at me. "As your best friend." "As my favorite person," I said. "As the woman I call first. As the woman I compare everyone else to. As the woman who has been standing in the middle of my life for so long that I stopped knowing how to imagine a future without her." Her lips parted a little, but she did not speak. I took one slow breath. "And yes," I said, "as more than my best friend." Emily laughed once, but it broke softly at the end. She wiped under one eye with the back of her hand. "That is very inconvenient." "I know. I had a whole plan to be careful and slow." "But we can still be careful. You just said you love me on a dock." "I can say it carefully." She laughed again, and this time it was warmer. Then she stepped closer, close enough that her shoulder almost touched my arm. "I love you too," she said. The words hit me in the chest like I had been waiting years to breathe and had only just remembered how. Not loudly, not dramatically, just Emily standing barefoot on a dock in Savannah, holding her shoes and telling me the truth. I held out my hand. She looked at it. For 1 second I thought about how many times we had touched before without letting it mean anything. Her hand grabbing my sleeve in a crowd. My arm around her shoulders during a cold football game. Her fingers brushing mine when she passed me coffee. Small things. Safe things. Things we could explain away. This time there was no excuse. She placed her hand in mine. Her fingers were cool from the breeze. Mine closed around them like I had been trying not to do it for years. I said, "Then choose this with me." Emily looked at me and I saw fear cross her face. Not fear of me. Fear of losing what we already had. Fear that love could break the friendship that had kept both of us standing through so many hard days. "I do not want to lose you," she whispered. "You are not losing me." "Things change." "They already changed," I said. "We just finally admitted it." She stepped closer. No music started. No perfect movie moment opened around us. Nobody clapped from the doors. The sky did not turn gold just for us. It was just Emily and me beside the river with her family inside and my heart beating too fast for a man trying to look calm. Then she kissed me. It was soft at first, careful, almost questioning, like both of us were waiting to see if the world would fall apart when our mouths touched. It did not. The world stayed right where it was. That was the best part. When she pulled back, she kept her forehead close to mine. We both laughed softly because there was no other way to handle the fact that something so new felt like it had been waiting for us forever. That was annoying, she said. I smiled. Good annoying or bad annoying? Annoying because we could have done that a long time ago. Maybe. She gave me a look, Ryan. Fine, a very long time ago. She smiled and I felt something settle inside me. When we walked back inside, Emily let go of my hand before we reached the doors, but it did not feel like hiding. It felt like keeping one small piece of the moment just for us before her family turned it into a full meeting. Of course, her grandmother noticed anyway. From across the room, she raised her coffee cup at me like she had won a private bet. I pretended not to see it. Emily leaned close and whispered, "Do not encourage her." I am not even looking at her. She knows. She always knows. The rest of the weekend moved fast after that. There were more pictures, more hugs, more family stories, and more jokes from people who thought they were being subtle. Emily and I did not make an announcement. We did not need to. Something about us had shifted and everyone with eyes could see it, but we kept it quiet. Sometimes her shoulder rested against my arm. Sometimes I caught her looking at me from across the room and smiling like we had a secret. Once, while her cousin opened gifts, Emily leaned into me for a few seconds and I felt calmer than I had all weekend. Sunday morning, we packed our hotel room in easy silence. The bed was neatly made. The little chair still sat in the corner, useless and judgmental. I pointed at it. That chair deserves no credit. Emily zipped her bag. The chair knows what it did. It did nothing. Exactly, it stayed out of our business. I picked up my suitcase. Next time we need a romantic breakthrough, we are not using hotel logistics. Agreed. We could try talking. She made a face. Let's not become different people overnight. I laughed and she smiled at me from the doorway. For a second I saw both versions of us at once, best friends, something more. Not two separate things, but one truth that had been growing slowly under the other. On the drive home, Emily fell asleep for the first hour with her head turned toward the window. I kept both hands on the wheel until she woke somewhere outside South Carolina, yawned, and reached across the center console without looking. Her hand found mine. I held it. No joke. No speech. No panic. It felt familiar, like we had been holding hands in every way except the real one for years. After a while, she said, "We should never tell people the full hotel story. My sister will find out. Your sister will weaponize it. She weaponizes everything." Emily smiled. "Then we tell her a cleaner version." What cleaner version? That we had a mature conversation after years of honest self-awareness. I glanced at her. That sounds like two people we are not. She squeezed my hand. Fair. 2 weeks later, we went back to Savannah together. Not for a family event, not for an engagement weekend. Not because anyone needed a normal person beside them, just us. This time when the hotel clerk smiled and asked, "One king or two queens?" Emily looked at me. She was not hiding a plan now. She was not too calm. She was just smiling. Then she turned back to the clerk and said, "One king."